Now, 6 days and counting before the presidential election, the general election. And one ad that just started airing really causing quite a stir.
Yeah, especially in these parts. 13 ABC's Bill Hormann digs into a new Romney ad targeting Chrysler and China. Bill.
Yeah, sometimes you just get bad information, and sometimes you misinterpret information. But a controversy surrounding a Mitt Romney ad about Jeep moving to China could have been avoided with one phone call. At his highly charged defiance appearance last Thursday, Mitt Romney appealed to voters as the man who will fight for American jobs. And he said this.
I saw a story today that one of the great manufacturers in this state, Jeep, now owned by the Italians, is thinking of moving all production to China.
This is the Bloomberg.com story, which left the impression that Jeep was moving production to China. Chrysler, it says, plans to return Jeep output to China and may eventually make all of its models in that country.
Who will do more for the auto industry?
The Romney camp quickly produced this ad.
Obama took GM and Chrysler into bankruptcy and sold Chrysler to Italians who are going to build Jeeps in China.
But Romney's camp should have done the legwork that 13 ABC's Jeep beat reporter Lisa Guyton did. She actually talked to Chrysler, and the company insisted that Jeep would expand into China, not abandon Toledo.
Now, to be clear, Jeep has no intention of shifting production of its Jeep models out of North America to China.
Chrysler stopped building Jeeps in China in 2007 when the German company Daimler sold the automaker to Cerberus. And back in January of this year, the head of Fiat, which now owns Chrysler, says the company wants to get back into China.
The big opportunity for us, especially in the Chinese environment, is to explore how we can grow Jeep, because Jeep, to me, is still the biggest international calling card that we own.
After Romney's false claim of Jeep outsourcing to China,
the Obama camp pounced. They produced this response, arguing that Mitt Romney got the story wrong.
Truth? Jeep is adding jobs in Ohio.
Now, as you know, Jeep is expanding in Toledo and it is adding jobs. And Tuesday, Sergio Marchionne emphatically declared in an email to his employees that Jeep production will not be moved from the United States to China. But the Romney camp is not backing down from their ad. They say Jeeps will be made in China. And they're literally true. But on the heels of the Romney comment in Defiance, Ohio, this ad to us seems careless and misleading. Vice President Joe Biden today actually called the Romney ad an outrageous lie. We're not going that far, but the Obama ad rightly calls out the Romney camp on this one. I'm Bill Hormann, and we just explained the story behind the Romney ad controversy in tonight's Truth. The president and Republicans on Capitol Hill have agreed to extend the payroll tax cut. It's going to cost us $100 billion, but that's money that taxpayers get to keep. However, that money goes into the Social Security fund. It's $9 trillion in deficit right now. Would you extend that tax cut, or would you offer some other tax cut if you were president?
Well, much as he did.
Well, sure he did. If he's going to support something, then why not just go out and support it and come what may? Because his thinking, Mr. Council President, was that I have to represent 100% of the people. Not all of them are union members.
Well,
I'm here with a whole cast of reporters. We have Bill Hormann standing by to give us a different perspective on, you're just right across from me, Bill, at Stroh Center here.
Diane, look for the president to address really three main audiences in his speech this afternoon. One, the middle class. Two, students. Three, early voters. First, the middle class. The president is trying to frame this election as about jobs and the economy and how some, the rich, the wealthy, have benefited more from the economy than the middle class. Look for him to try to draw some distinctions between his vision on how to grow the economy through development of the middle class, as opposed to Mitt Romney, who the president believes tries to grow the economy from the top down. Second, students. We are here at BGSU, but there's a lot of concern by college students. Can I afford college, one, and can I get a job once I graduate from college, two? Look for the president to specifically talk to a lot of students that are here looking at his speech this afternoon. And finally, early voters. In Ohio, early voting begins October 3rd. The president is going to encourage each and every registered voter to get out and vote. If they have to vote early, just make sure your voice is heard. But remember, here in Ohio, Voter registration ends October 9th. He'll make a pitch that everybody should get out and register no matter who you're going to vote for. Naturally, his appeal is to him today as he tries to address those three main audiences, the middle class, students, and early voters. Diane?
Back to Bill Hormann, who has a question for Marcy Kaptur.
We've talked a little bit about Obamacare. You supported it, as you said. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the plan is constitutional, but that the individual portion mandating participation was a tax. So in essence, haven't you voted for a tax on middle-class Americans who might have chosen not to be part of Obama's health care plan?
Well, I think that's a very good question, Bill.
All right, Bill Hormann, you are next up for Congresswoman Kaptur.
Well, let's follow up on the tax cuts. Twice, President Obama extended the Bush tax cuts for every American who pays taxes. Now it's an election year, and he's proposing ending the tax cuts for people who make $250,000 a year and more. The economy is still slow, which was the reason he extended it twice before. Why raise taxes now when the economy is still growing at an anemic 2%?
Good question.
Courage.
All right, we're going to stay with Bill Hormann. And this question for Mr. Wurzelbach.
Well, it kind of relates to jobs and even the supply of gasoline. Governor John Kasich over the summer signed an executive order that banned drilling for oil and natural gas in Lake Erie in case the federal government were to come and say, let's drill in Lake Erie. Ohio has a fall safe. Should we allow drilling of oil and natural gas in Lake Erie if it creates jobs and if it increases supplies in those gas?
Absolutely. From a federal point, I mean,
And 13 ABC getting you ready for the State of the Union with the only local television reporter in the nation's capital tonight. Bill Hormann has been busy throughout the day speaking with the lawmakers who represent you in Congress. And Bill joins us live with more tonight. Bill.
Lee, the president has a room full of speechwriters. He has dozens of policy experts. They've all been crafting the State of the Union speech for the last several weeks now, and it comes during an election year. It comes during a presidential election year, and tonight the president will have the full attention of the entire nation. Now, if you talk to some Republicans, they hope the president doesn't decide to go political with this speech. If you talk to Democrats, they say, well, you know, by its very nature, this is a political speech.
I hope he reflects a real understanding of what's going on with the middle class and how many people are just hanging on.
People have got to remember, this is the president's 4th year in office, and they have to ask what's happened since he's been in office.
Bob Latta is making the point that for the first 2 years the president was in office, he had a Democratic Congress that passed everything he wanted. He says it's a bit unfair for the president now to say over the last year, when Republicans have control of just one house, to blame whatever ails the nation on the Republicans. Talk to both Latta and Kaptur. They will tell you jobs must be issue number one on the president's mind in his speech tonight. Coming up at 11 o'clock, we will talk live with Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur and Congressman Bob Latta, see if the president's speech lived up to their expectations. Reporting live from Washington, D.C., Bill Hormann, 13 ABC, Action News.
In your vote 2012 tonight, you may be wondering if Joe Wurzelbacher is still in the race against Democratic incumbent Marcy Kaptur. Well, 13 ABC's Bill Hormann talked with Joe today, and Bill, he's in the race, but doing it his way?
You got it right, Lee. Joe's been described as the poster boy for the angry everyman. But while Marcy Kaptur's up on Capitol Hill voting on the big issues of the day, we haven't heard much from Joe Wurzelbacher, and we wondered if he was still in the race.
We first talked with Joe the plumber while he walked a snowy West Toledo neighborhood back in February. He's running against Democrat Marcy Kaptur, a 30-year incumbent who's not only popular but visible. But Joe has run a quiet campaign away from the sharp focus of the media.
We're having returning calls to media because, quite frankly, you're not going to get me elected. It's the people that I talk to every day that I'm trying to get their votes.
Google his name and you get page after page of entries. He has 20 YouTube videos of his positions on important issues, and he has thousands of Facebook followers. Yet when he does pop up in the mainstream media, his unfiltered comments stir hot debate. Like when he said in Arizona a month ago, Americans should put up a fence on the border going with Mexico and start shooting. And the media have made him a butt of jokes for that.
Which end did that beauty come from, Joe?
But Joe insists millions of Americans agree with his blunt opinions.
It's not that I'm bloodthirsty. It's not that I want to kill people. It's that I want my government to do their damn job and protect the borders like they've been told to do.
Joe's lost 2 campaign managers because he says he refused to play politics like a politician. He distrusts the media, and he's low on cash. So if you don't see him in those fancy TV ads or at some press conference, just know that Joe the plumber is running this race his way, and that's the way he wants it.
I'm doing it a different way. I always said from the beginning, if I can't get elected being who I am, damn it, I don't want to be elected.
And Joe knows he's running an uphill race here. Marcy Kaptur is effective and she's popular. We'll profile the candidates as we get closer to the election, but as for debates between these two, Marcy Kaptur's ready. She's even offered dates. So far, Joe has not committed. Reporting live, Bill Hormann, 13 ABC, Action News.
All right, thank you.
All right, in one poll, President Obama's up a point over Mitt Romney. In another, that lead is 6 points. In another poll, likely voters are sampled. In another, it's all adults.
So how do we know which polls are actually accurate? 13 ABC Bill Hormann talked with a local pollster who has an answer.
Yeah, Fritz Wenzel's a pollster who's known all around the country. Most famously, perhaps, is the pollster for presidential candidate Ron Paul. Well, today he told me we have to look behind the numbers to judge their accuracy. The political conventions are over. The candidate debates are 3 weeks away. So to push the presidential horse race, you get the presidential poll.
I do kind of sometimes like to hear what other people are thinking.
But what people are thinking may not be accurately reflected in the polls.
You get vastly different results depending on what sample you choose to use.
Fritz Wenzel is a Toledo-based pollster for candidates all across the country. He says 2 big factors affect poll results. One involves the sample population.
Do you have a registered voter sample, a likely voter sample, or just all adult sample?
Here's what he means. ABC News Washington Post polled likely voters and found the president had a 1-point lead. But among registered voters, Obama had a 6-point lead.
Here, close to an election, everyone should be using a likely voter sample.
Another problem with polls, sampling more Democrats than Republicans. Voters sometimes sense the bias.
I just don't believe in them. I think that they call people that they know maybe are going to go one way or the other.
Democrats are more likely, our surveys show, to answer a political poll than are Republicans. They're easier to reach and they're more willing to talk.
For instance, this CNN poll uses likely voters and found the president leading Mitt Romney by 6 points. But the poll oversampled Democrats and vastly undersampled independents. A more accurate sample would have had Romney up 8 points.
Always check to see that the Democrats to Republicans to independents are properly aligned so that you have a poll that has the right proportion.
Wenzel believes today's polls are more accurate, but he says they can be manipulated. And that leaves voters to decide what to believe. Do these opinion polls matter to you?
No, my opinion matters to me.
Now, we're not saying the president doesn't have a lead in the polls, but voters may be wondering which lead is it? Is it 1 point or is it 6 points? Fritz Wenzel says a reliable poll uses likely voters and has that right Democratic, Republican, independent balance. And by the way, that margin of error, 2 or 3 points probably means an accurate poll. 5 points or higher, might want to raise an eyebrow. Reporting live, Bill Hormann, 13 ABC, Action News.